So a couple months ago, I shot a video outlining some of the first repairs that every BMW E34 needs when you first get them. And that video was very well received, and I've since thought of more repairs that these cars always need. So in this video, we'll be going over 3 more repairs. And that first video was shot on this car. This is my Euro import E34 that I bought from the original owner. I have a whole nother video outlining that. This vehicle is now for sale. I just finished a 30-hour detail on it. I'm asking $5,500, so if you're interested, just let me know and we can see if we can maybe work something out. But anyway, all the repairs we're doing in today's video is on this car. This is the first BMW I ever bought. It's another E34 525i, and this has actually been my daily driver for 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. And I've very much enjoyed this car, but yet there are still some things that I have been ignoring needing to get done ever since I bought the car, but we'll be taking care of all of that right now. So let's go ahead and jump in. So for the first repair, we're actually starting around the back of the car. And now before we jump into this, I do apologize for how absolutely filthy this car is. It's been way too long since I've given it a good wash. But anyway, we're actually gonna be looking at the fuel door here, and you can see mine doesn't line up properly. And the reason for that is these plastic hinges go bad, and you can see mine's actually cracked here. That's what they like to do, is they like to crack. And a lot of times, if it gets bad enough, your fuel door can just fall off while you're driving down the highway, and then next time you go to fill up, you're like, where's my fuel door at? We'll be going ahead and replacing this, which should just be a matter of unclipping this hinge and removing it from the door itself and then reinstalling. There is no hardware that holds it in place. It's just 3 clips. This is the new part, so this is the same orientation. There's 1 clip up top here, there's 1 here, and 1 here. So that all goes in like that. So one thing to note, these fuel doors usually have a silver spring clip here, and we're actually missing that on the green car, but the silver car has one, so I can show that to you. All you do to remove those is you bend it out, and it just unclips itself from the door right here. So that's not really anything too extra. Just take a pair of pliers and pop it off of there. So what it looks like is we have 3 tabs that we need to bend out of the way. One right here, which looks like we can fit a pick or a flathead in there to pull that down. And then these 2 clips facing the front side of the car look like they're the same way, just a little bit more precarious because we got to get up behind the hinge there to unclip those. But we'll go ahead and give it a go and see how it turns out. So I'm just kind of putting a little bit of tension on the door as I do this to start working it out of here. So I've successfully unclipped the top side. The bottom side is being a little bit more precarious. The difficulty really is that I can't see in there, but some patience and some wiggling around and some properly applied pressure should get it out of there. You can actually see how much this thing is starting to disintegrate the more I wiggle it. All right, well, I pretty much just ripped it off of there. No harm, no foul. So maybe use that to your advantage when you're doing this, because these clips can be pretty stubborn. At least now we can get a better view of them. It looks like this one's just totally warped. All the pliability's gone out of it, and it's just sort of warped the wrong way around. This bottom one is just being a real pain. There we go. So now here we have the fuel door off the car, and this is the remaining bits of the hinge that we have. So when we pulled it off, the hinge was in the open position like this. To remove this from the door itself, we're gonna have to move that to the closed position. And here you can see 2 little tabs. And if we look at our new part, that correlates with these pieces here, and those just slide in and then clip into place. So we have to bend these parts up a little bit on the old hinge to get it out of there. And to do that, I'm just gonna take a little bit of a flathead and work it up in there. Be real gentle, pop that up and over there. Do the same on this side. And there's also a 3rd little tab up in here that you might have to push down while you're doing this. So you just kind of work all 3 at the same time with 2 hands. Okay, all right, I felt it move. So, yep, there we go. And it's sliding off of there very firmly. There we go. All right. So just to get you a better view of what we just did there, here is our old hinge. These are the two prongs that slide up in these two slots. And what happens when you slide that in, you can see the back sides of these prongs get held in place by these little nubs that stick up. So you have to bend the back side of these prongs up to be able to push it out. And so reinstalling our new part is just as easy as sliding this up in here, like so. Then we go back to the car and we move the hinge to the open position. There's these two tabs that have to slot in first. So we slot that around the back and then clip that in, like so. Voila, we've got a new hinge. And at this point, you take your metal spring clip and you reinstall it on here. So yeah, other than that, we are all done here. So if your fuel door falls off, it's more of an inconvenience than a serious issue of safety. But this next repair really could be seriously dangerous out on the road and is absolutely something you want to check up on and make sure is in good shape at the very least. But before we jump into that, if you found any of this helpful so far, feel free to subscribe. We'd love to have you along. But anyway, so what am I talking about? It's actually this right here. So this is the rubber grommet that goes between your throttle cable and your gas pedal linkage. But instead of trying to explain all that to you, let's just go ahead and check it out. So, climbing up under the dashboard here, we obviously have our gas pedal, and our gas pedal goes up to a linkage, as you can see, that runs all the way across from right to left. As I push on the gas, you can see the whole assembly moving. Now, the issue that these have is actually what you can see up in here. This is your throttle cable, and as you can see, I just completely disconnected it. There's supposed to be a little rubber grommet, which is what we are replacing, and that wraps around this little hook on the cable itself and presses up into this hole in this linkage. Now this is going to be really hard to get on camera. I'm going to do my best. You're going to have to bear with me here. But you have to trust me when I say this can be a serious issue of safety. This has come out on me on the highway, and losing gas in the middle of the highway, middle lane, not a good feeling. It's actually rather dangerous. And it's not just E34s that have this issue. I've seen it happen in E30s as well. Even if this grommet is still here, it can turn to mush. And when it gets mushy, it'll like to mush its way out as well. So even if your grommet is still intact and it's still in there and it hasn't turned brittle and crumbled, make sure that it's actually securely in place. This is actually a serious issue. Now, this is the little grommet here, and it's gonna be difficult to press it up in there. I've actually tried before and I was unsuccessful. So in this video, I'll show you what really works, and hopefully this will be helpful. So the very first thing I'm gonna do is remove this panel up under here. Now, there's supposed to be a couple of screws that hold it in place. There's typically one here, there's one up under there, and I believe there's one typically over there as well. But for me, in my case, the only thing holding it in is this little trim piece right here. I believe that's just a 90-degree turn, and then that comes out, which it did. And this panel here is also going to come out, which is just one Phillips screw. Pull that down, and this panel should pull down out like so. Now, should be able to work this gently down and out of the way. So I've gotten that panel down and out of the way, and I'm gonna remove this duct here. And the only reason I've done this is to give you guys a better perspective on it. You can choose to remove that panel as well, but for me, it's not necessary. I'm just doing this to be able to get a camera to be able to look at what I'm doing. So I got some M5 hardware, and my plan is to use this bolt and washer here. I'm gonna put the grommet on this bolt here, and I'm gonna feed this through the flange on the pedal assembly, and I'm going to tighten this nut and washer on the other side. And with a little bit of silicone spray on here, I'm hoping that this will pull this grommet through and press it into place. So here I have everything set up. I got my bolt and nut run through here, got the grommet on here, got everything nice and lubed up with some silicone spray, and just gonna tighten this bolt and hope that it presses in there. So I got the grommet in here, and what I ended up having to do was actually trim a little bit of the lip off of the one side of the grommet, which you shouldn't have to do, but I could not get this thing in here for the life of me, no matter what I tried. The one lip of the bushing would just flex out of the way and it would just crush the whole thing. But anyway, if you do what I did and you trimmed a little bit of this lip off, put the untrimmed side on the outside like this. And the reason for that is when our throttle cable, when we feed that through and press that in, the hook of the throttle cable will naturally keep this whole bushing from pressing out this way, obviously, because the only way that this can come out is to this side. So if you put the lip this way, that keeps it from pulling out this way, and then the cable itself keeps it from pulling out that way. So I'm now going to use a pair of channel locks to press this hook through the bushing here. All right, and with all that being done, everything is held in there properly. Everything's nice and secure. This cable is not going to back out of here. And everything feels nice and smooth. So I'd say that's a job well done. So our last and arguably most important repair will also be conveniently taking place here in the driver footwell, and that is this. Now, if you don't know what this is the blower motor resistor, and it controls the fan speed for your climate control. And the way it works generally is there's 3 little coils inside of here, and each coil has a different resistance. So the thicker the coil, the less resistance there is. So as you go between all 4 of your fan speeds, it's just decreasing the resistance until it's a direct connection. Now, the reason you want to replace this is because they do have the ability to send your car up in flames, and at that point your vehicle is totally unrecoverable. Now, they do commonly fail, but they don't commonly fail to the point where your vehicle will go up in flames, although somebody that I do know personally did have that happen to them. And the way you can tell these are going bad, you'll smell like a burning smell, and a lot of the times that's leaves and stuff that have gotten caked up around your cabin air filter or where the cabin air filter would be. Some of these cars don't have those filters. And B, if you don't have all your fan speeds, if one of your fan speeds isn't working, that means that there's a connection broken, likely a coil is burnt out. And what that can mean is if something gets in there and causes an arc, that can also catch fire. So this is a really important piece that you want to replace, and it's so easy, it's totally worth it. So let's just go ahead and jump in. So I did reassemble everything under here for the sake of illustration. But all we need to do is remove this panel here, which is this one Phillips screw. So we back that out, and this panel pulls out of here. There's a little tab that goes up under the center console, and that just comes on down. And then up in here, we see this little connector, and this is our old blower motor resistor. And the connector just has 2 little tabs that you squeeze, top and bottom, and you wiggle that out. Ooh. And as you can see, this is why you want to get in here, and this is why you want to take care of this. These leaves and stuff, just waiting to put this thing up in flames. So we'll pull this down out of here. And it looks like this thing wasn't even really in there very securely to begin with. I haven't even been able to unplug it yet. Let me get that, there we go. Okay, here's our old part. We'll take a quick look at this. It actually looks rather new. It doesn't look like there's anything particularly wrong with this. I was getting some burning smell at times, and that was due to the stuff that you saw in here, all the leaves and tree bits and bobs. So the other thing you want to do, if you find all this, you'll want to go back to my last E34 repairs video and watch the section on the cabin air filter, because you'll want to pull apart that piece. Even if your vehicle doesn't have a cabin air filter, you'll want to pull all that apart and clean all that out of there, because this all ties into the same little part up under the dash. So definitely bounce back and check that out to see what all I'm talking about. But anyway, I'm gonna get up in there, I'm gonna clean up the rest of the bits of stuff from up in that little channel, and we'll go ahead and install the new part. So I'm reaching back up in this little spot where the resistor came out, and you can see all this stuff pouring out of here. I'm just working it all up and out, get all that uncaked. Then I'll climb back up in here. I will take the new resistor, went ahead and plugged that back in. You just push the plug in until you hear both tabs click into place. It's a very slight click, but it's a click nonetheless. And then we take this whole thing and we press it right back into this little channel. There we go. We push that in until we feel it click.
And there we go. All you do is you push it in until the lip of the resistor fits flush against this housing here. And there's 2 clips on each side. And once you push that in, it clips into place, everything's flush, then you are done. And so just to wrap this up, take this panel and you feed it back up behind there. Get the screw lined up, get it threaded in. And now we are officially done.
So that wraps up this video. I will have a link to the part 1 somewhere below me here if you didn't catch that one already. And again, feel free to subscribe if you found any of this at all helpful. I'd be happy to have you along. There will be more videos like this in the future, including, I just bought H&R lowering springs for this car, which I'll be doing in a video here in the next few weeks, so that'll be fun. And again, this car is for sale. It's a 5-speed manual, 525i, imported from Germany, 1-owner car. If that's at all interesting to you, hit me up in the comments and we can see if we can work something out. But that being said, that's all I've got for now, and I'll catch you in the next video.